Good Wednesday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for October the 23rd. Today we are reading together Psalm number 124. The 124th Psalm has been given the title in my Bible, Yahweh is on our side. As we talked about over the past few Psalms, as we've gotten into the songs of ascent, that these first nine at the very least follow a pretty decent pattern of lament, confidence, and then Zion Psalms. So the first psalm in the series of three is going to be a lament psalm. The second psalm in the series is going to be a confident psalm, and then the final in the series is going to be a psalm focusing on Zion and the greatness of Zion being God's city. Well, today we are in the middle of the second series of two, where on Monday we talked about Psalm 123, read it together, and talked about how it was a lament where the author is looking to God and waiting for God to act, waiting for God to show favor, to show mercy, and to show grace. Well, here in Psalm 124, we're going to see where the author talks about the fact that God has done that. And the author expresses incredible confidence in Yahweh, that because Yahweh was with them, because Yahweh did act, it brought about deliverance, and it brought about the saving of God's people. As I mentioned, this is a song of ascent. This is a confident psalm, I believe. This is also a psalm of David. So let me go and get the text up on the screen. We'll read it together here. Psalm 124. Psalm 124. Again, Yahweh is on our side. Psalm 124, verse number 1. If Yahweh had not been on our side, let Israel say, if Yahweh had not been on our side when people attacked us, then they would have swallowed us alive in their burning anger against us. Then the water would have engulfed us. The torrent would have swept over us. The raging water would have swept over us. Blessed be Yahweh, who has not let us be ripped apart by their teeth. We have escaped like a bird from the hunter's nest. The net is torn down, and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. Psalm 124. There are a number of metaphors and I believe a simile that is included here within Psalm 124. And again, it begins with this declaration, inviting the entirety of Israel to participate in this declaration and to recognize together as a whole the reality of the situation. That conditionally, if Yahweh had not been on our side, let Israel say, if Yahweh had not been on our side, well, what? There's building suspense here. If Yahweh had not been on our side, when people attacked us, the short of it is, we would have been destroyed. When people would have attacked us, when people attacked us and Yahweh had not been on our side, then they would have swallowed us alive. They would have engulfed us. They would have swept over us. And there's different imagery that's mentioned here. The first one being that they would have swallowed us alive in their burning anger against us. So anger like a fire consuming Israel. Then we switch to the complete opposite side of water. That if Yahweh had not been on the side of Israel whenever the enemies attacked, then the water would have engulfed us, and the torrent would have swept over us. The raging water would have swept over us. So the math goes like this. Enemies attack, Yahweh's not with them, this equals defeat. And very tragic defeat, very, very strong, sweeping, dominant, decisive defeat. Again, swallowed us alive, engulfed us, swept over us. This is all-encompassing language. A total defeat in every way. But the opposite is also true. The opposite equation is true, is that whenever enemies attacked and Yahweh was with them, that resulted in deliverance and victory. We see that in verses 6, 7, and 8. Blessed be Yahweh, who has not let us be ripped apart by their teeth. So now we have animal imagery here, a strong, vicious predator type imagery that God has kept us away from the predator. He's delivered us from that. Then this other imagery of we've escaped like a bird from the hunter's net. The net is torn and we have escaped. Well, who tore the net? Well, Yahweh tore the net. Yahweh allowed them this way of escape. So again, the two equations here are very clear. Know Yahweh when enemies attack equals defeat. But Yahweh being with them when enemies attack leads to deliverance. So the conclusion then in verse number 8 is this, that our help is in the name of Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. Our deliverance comes from Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. The name of, by the authority and the strength of Yahweh, by these things, David says, we have been delivered. Now, as I read through this psalm, there are a number of different scenarios from Israel's history that could be on the forefront of David's mind. But what I think about whenever I think of this psalm is one of the main moments of deliverance that was the motivation for many of the yearly festivals that the people came together for, particularly like the Passover, which of course commemorates God's deliverance in the Exodus. And do you remember after the Passover took place and after the people were making their way out of Egypt that they are against the Red Sea or the Reed Sea, and they are looking ahead of them and seeing the water, and they're looking behind them and they're seeing the people of, or the army of Israel, of Egypt, which has Pharaoh having changed his mind and not just going to let them go. He sent his army to go attack Israel. And you're thinking in this moment, they're thinking in this moment that, and the scripture bears this out in Exodus, that people freaked out. They said, oh, we've just been brought out of here. Moses, you just brought us out here to die. Look, the water is on one side and the Egyptians are on the other side. We are sunk between a body of water and a bloodthirsty army. Truly a rock in a hard place. Do you see this imagery tying into that situation? Think about Pharaoh's burning anger and having let them go, how that would swallow them, how the water would engulf them on one side and the army would sweep over them on the other side. That the army is ready to rip Israel apart as if it's a predator, that they've thrown a net over Israel. They've trapped them here in this moment. Again, if Yahweh's not with them, they're done for. Their existence as people is over. But Yahweh was with them. And David recognizes that. David recognizes that it is in the name and the strength and the power and the authority of Yahweh that the people were delivered. And that's it. That's the only reason why they were delivered, was because of what Yahweh had done for them. And certainly this brings to mind Romans 8 in verse 31, this incredibly important principle that if God is for us, who can be against us? Their help, David said, was in the name of Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. And if he created all these things, then is the creation really going to have power over the creator? And of course, the answer is no. And these are principles for us to remember as well, that if God is for us, and if what we're doing pleases God, and if what we're doing brings honor to him, then that's all that matters. If God is for us, who can be against us? David here recognizes this in Psalm 124 and expresses his confidence in Yahweh, that because God was with them, they would have victory, they would be delivered, and may we remember the same things. If you have any questions or comments about Psalm 124, please feel free to leave that in the comments section below. And on Friday, we'll be back reading together Psalm 125, continuing our walk through the Psalm of Ascents, through the Psalms of Ascents, the Songs of Ascents. We'll be looking at a Zion Psalm on Friday. Also looking forward to being with everybody tonight for our continued Wednesday special study series. Tommy Sluss will be with us once again. We're looking forward to seeing him and Raina and having him present to us about the maker of heaven and earth, and how having faith in him as the divine creator who was able to speak everything into existence, how it really just makes so much more sense, and how it is something we can have greater confidence in than just the random stance and luck of chance that the theory of evolution gives us. So very much looking forward to hearing Tommy's presentation tonight. Hope to see you then, and look forward to reading with you again on Friday. Take care and God bless.